Right, guys, welcome back to another podcast. This is episode 13, and we have our guest, Tony, with us. How are you doing, Tony?
Yeah, very good indeed. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Very nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So, Tony, just tell us, a bit about your background and how you came into the Band of Builders fold, really.
Background has always been in merchanting, really. So I started nearly 40 years ago now, working in a independent timber merchants, then moved on to the nationals, really. So I worked with Irish Building Supplies. They got taken over by Graham's. Then we had Jewson's, worked with them for a period of time, Travis Perkins, and then eventually became an area director for Jewson's down in Cornwall. So I held that for quite some time and then moved on to become a regional director for Gibson Dandy, which was my last role. I started with Band of Builders back in 2019 it was. So I'd met Gavin and Louise, the chairman, and one of the trustees at a function. And they explained to me what it was all about, what Bob did, and how they help people. And it was really compelling stuff. So I was sitting there listening. As with all of these things, you think you're waiting for the crunch, what's it going to cost me? But it never did. And to be fair, that's exactly what Band of Builders do. So we're not that sort of charity that's in your face. We're the sort of charity that likes to bring people on board and they can see what we're doing, etc. So back in 2019, a project came along called Kyle's project in Hereford. Young lad there that needed some works doing. And Gavin said, is there anything we could do to help? So we looked at it and we were able to supply a lot of materials for that particular job. And from there, Gavin pretty much, and Shane, to be fair, another one of the trustees, were chirping along in my ear. They said it'd be lovely if you'd become a trustee at some point. And I actually did become a trustee for Band of Builders, which was a great honour, really. To be involved in such a charity is just one of the most worthwhile things I've ever done, really.
Yeah.
I think the nice thing about what we do, it's not about me. It's not about earning money. This is about what we're doing for other people. And it's giving something back. So after 40 years in the industry, it's all about what we can do to help others. And I absolutely love that side of it, so that's how I've ended up where I am, really, Josh.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Tony, for that. And so I guess you've really been involved with quite a lot of exciting work with Band of Builders, haven't you? I mean, really, focus of this podcast is going to be, one of these, the current project, the one that you've recently done. That is highlighted as being probably one of the biggest projects that Band of Builders have done to date, really. And I'm quite excited to hear about that particular topic area through this podcast. So do you want to put a bit of context behind, the project that you've most recently undertook?
Yeah, sure. I think, first and foremost, with any project that comes through to us, we have an application process that people have to go through, and they need to hit certain criteria within that. And unusually with Rob's project, this was something that was actually brought to our attention, not through the usual sort of means. Now, on the back of that, we actually made contact with them to actually suggest that we may be able to get involved. And at that point, then they actually joined the application process. So Rob, he's 58 years old. He had an accident one morning where he was getting out of bed, and he fainted, basically, and as he's dropped to the ground, he severely injured his back, which meant he became paralysed from chest downwards. So from that moment on, really, obviously, his life totally changed. Obviously, once we've taken all of these things into consideration, then the wheels start to turn. And what we do at that point really is to visit, have a look to see what adaptations actually are needed within the property itself.
Yeah.
We then bring that back. That's discussed amongst the trustees. We get some sort of idea at that point on how long the project is actually going to last for. Do we need to do it in 1 stage, 2 stage, or 3 stages? Sometimes we can go in advance and do maybe some footings or etc. that's needed. Mm-hmm. That's in an ideal world. Obviously, it doesn't always happen like that.
Yeah.
So from that point, then we start to look for volunteers. And amongst those volunteers, we actually ask if there are anyone within those ranks that would like to project lead. And to be fair, project leads is probably underestimated what a fantastic job they do. This particular occasion, we had 2 great guys that stepped up. We had Craig Cashmore and Tim Winch. We then move on to the next stage, which is they will go to site. They will look at exactly what needs doing. We'll then have to start to quantify what that is in terms of materials. We'll have a look at the complexity of ordering those materials, because with Rob's, as you can imagine, there was an awful lot of specialist product that was going to be needed. And then, we then set a date down. We've got a team of people that actually sit there and discuss how long we think we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. And then we come up with a time span, announce that date, and then we then start to make sure that everything is where it's needed on the day it's needed, which is, as you can imagine, in itself is a bit of a task, really.
Yeah. No, thanks for that. So in terms of the whole context of the project, as you've touched upon quite a few points there. I guess it was quite an honour to actually help Rob with that. So you've mentioned that there was several months of planning, and you've already mentioned quite a few points there, but how was it managed? And during this time period, were there any challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome those challenges?
There were. I think from at the stage where I was on that particular job, to be fair, the chairman of the trustees, Gavin, was doing an awful lot of work alongside both of the project leads. So the organisational side of things was left down to them to actually manage to make sure that we got everything in place. In terms of problems that you encounter along the way, numerous really, especially in the environment that we've been working in, as you're probably aware, products are on allocations, cement's on allocation these days. At the time it was absolutely fine, but for me now, I'm thinking about going forward about these allocations. Timber was very, very difficult to get hold of. With the specialist products, it was making sure that we got the right companies involved. So with pocket doors, for example, which was one of the requirements we needed on that particular project, that was really really difficult. And we had a company come in at the end when we were starting to panic a little bit, they came in at the end to provide us with those pocket doors, which was great. I think, when you look at the design and things like that, we can possibly overcomplicate things a little bit, which is something that we learn from as we go. There may have been quicker ways to do things. So I spent time on the project, and things don't always run to plan. So, for example, even the day-to-day stuff where you think it'd go right. So we actually laid a path out block paving, but then it was decided we would put some lighting in that ran down to the pergola at the end. And because of that, we had to take up, well, actually, we dug the trenches, but then the paving failed, so we had to take the paving back up. So for things like that, so for all the best planning in the world, sometimes you get caught out, as you would on any site, with these little complications, if you like.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And I guess you've got to sort of understand that that's just part and parcel of the whole process, really. But in particular with Rob's project, maybe just go over some of the things that were actually achieved within that, because obviously I noted in the notes that you sent over to me, Rob had, once the project was done, I think he was almost surprised as to how much you'd actually done for him. I think he was expecting, a couple of rooms that would be suited to his needs, but in terms of what you have actually done for him, it's just on another scale, isn't it, really?
It is, and that's something we're probably guilty of as a charity, really. We actually go in there with a vision of what is required, and then we think, oh, that would be great if we did that, and that'd be great if we did that. Before you know it, we've turned it into a massive project. So for us, I mean, it's like in terms of the value of the project, it was 100,000. That's definitely the biggest project that we've done to date. But when you actually look at what we've actually done for Rob, we put underfloor heating in. We've done a wet room for him, which is next to his bedroom. So the bedroom and the wet room are adjoining. We've had to put the pocket doors in there. Don't talk to me about pocket doors ever again, because they are the bane of my life. So basically, you have to form the recesses for the doors to actually slide in. And if they're slightly out, then it causes us all manner of issues. So again, that was a little bit of a complication. Then we actually put in a fantastic kitchen for him that was donated. It was through Lion, which are a charity that helps out people that are in that side of the industry. They actually went through Magnet, and we got this fantastic kitchen that came through Magnets, which was adjustable, so it can be used for disabled use, and the worktops lift and lower to different heights. So if the sons want to cook, they can, and if Rob, when he's well enough to cook, he can. And the same for the sink as well. The sink lifts and lowers, which is absolutely fantastic. So brand new kitchen in there. We put in air conditioning in there as well. So obviously we needed to keep his body temperature at the right levels, which could affect him. And while we were at it, we did the living room up as well. Again, pocket doors going in between the kitchen and into the living room. So he was totally accessible downstairs now, which is exactly what he needed. And then we did a few jobs for the boys upstairs, not massive, but a bit of painting and sprucing up here and there upstairs. But overall, just the jobs that we did there, with putting the double glazing in, and all of that was replaced. Then when we went to the outside of the property to allow them to get outside, we needed to build a new decking out there, and the decking looked absolutely amazing. So the job that Billy and John had done, apologies if I've missed anyone, because I know I have. The people that worked on those on the decking outside was absolutely fantastic. And then we've got all of the path that was built down to the pergola at the end. We had the electricians out there working as well. It just turned into a really, really big project with over 60 people involved. In the middle of COVID as well. So to get all of that done, arranged, and looking as well as it did at the end of it, was just an amazing effort by everyone, I think. And again, that's just what the charity is all about. And seeing him come home at the end of it was amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, sort of 60, probably even more, 60 plus people, tradespeople helping with the project. Of course, as I mentioned before starting this podcast, I did want to mention, a list of people who did volunteer, whether it be, local companies or national companies that did help with this project. But what we are going to do for everyone who is listening, we're just going to list off, all those that did volunteer, because you'd be listening to me for quite a long period of time if I did list them all out here. So that'll be accessible, after this video, with all of those who did volunteer, whether it would be, work, time invested, materials, because I know there was a lot there. Thanks for going over that, Tony. So I guess now Rob is back at home, isn't he? Have you had any contact with him since he's been back home?
The team have. I think last time we were around there was just shy of 2 weeks ago. So Rob's really getting used to his new surroundings. He's really appreciative of what we've actually done for him. He's getting his strength back in his arms, which he really needs to be able to, to cook again and things like that, get around in his wheelchair, although it's an electric one. He still needs that strength to come back. So there was a nice little video that he sent thanking everyone, and he's actually looking forward to using the kitchen at some point. The boys are making too much of a mess, he said, so he needs to take over.
So you've done an amazing job for him, and in terms of the renovations that have been carried out, it's probably completely transformed his life, what he can access to. So I bet he'll be forever grateful for that. So thanks for going through that with me, Tony. And last of all, is there any plans for any future projects that you've got lined up?
Wow, where do we start, Josh? I think the aim for the charity really was to get to the point where we were doing one a month. So first and foremost, it was about generating those applications. I think we've more than succeeded with doing that. It's given us quite a few headaches in the sense that now it's getting down to the point where we're having to decide which projects are most in need. So we've currently got 6 projects that are actually signed off, probably in most parts of the country. One's going to be announced probably over the weekend, so keep your eyes peeled. Can't tell you exactly where that is at the moment, but keep your eyes peeled for that over the weekend. We've definitely got another one, which again, that's going to be a big job in October time, so probably mid to end October. And the other 4 are smaller jobs that we're going to be doing our best to get in by the end of the year. And that's without the other 12 we've got in the pipeline. When you look at that, obviously that's going to feed into next year. So the help that Tarmac Blue Circle give us and our other partners, it helps us to keep these jobs going. Where it's been difficult to fundraise during COVID times, having these partnerships working together has been absolutely amazing. So without those partnerships, we wouldn't be able to do half of what we've been doing. So my thanks certainly go out to everyone on that front. And I think that's the motto, behind Band of Builders is together stronger. So like with Rob and other people, the intent is always there to help people. So that's brilliant. Okay, and I've got to ask, because it's a Tuesday and it's maybe a bit unrelated, but will you be watching the football? Yes, they are probably my most unpleasurable evenings when I watch England play football. I've got a funny feeling we're going to win tonight. I'm not sure why. Normally, I'm full of doom and gloom when it comes to England when we play.
Yeah,
certainly against Germany, but I think we're going to win.
We will have to see.
Might be extra time and penalties again, but I think we'll do it this time.
Yeah. All right, Tony. Well, thanks for joining us, and you have a good one.
I will indeed. Thanks, Josh. Take care.
Bye.